In this video, I'm going to share 4 important steps you have to take as an immigrant parent if you want your little child to learn your mother tongue. I am going to share my experience with raising a trilingual child. My daughter is almost 2.5 years old, and she's fluent for her age in 3 languages that she is exposed to. As soon as my daughter was born, I didn't have any doubts anymore that I am going to speak Latvian to her. I want to build one of the most important relationships in my life in my mother tongue, in the language that I feel most comfortable speaking. It has value for myself and my family.
Tagad happy birthday to
Labi.
you. Happy birthday to you.
Arī skaļāk.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
The other language that is spoken at our home is Polish. Father of my daughter is Polish, and Polish is also our common language.
Un vēl stolāt?
Yeah. Stolat, dziesieba. Stolat, dziesieba. Yes, teraz, dziesieba.
At home, my daughter is naturally exposed to 2 languages. Environment where we live is Finnish. She is attending daycare since she is 1.5 years old, and this is where she learns Finnish. As an educated linguist and language professional, I knew that I don't have to worry about her Finnish at all. That as soon as she starts daycare, as soon as she gets into Finnish environment, she's gonna pick up the language very quickly, and we at home don't have to do anything about it. We don't have to put any extra effort to support her Finnish language. What we have to do is do as much as possible that she learns now, since she's very young, our mother tongues, because the timing is very critical. As soon as she grows up and her friends and her circle will become her most important people, she will be probably willing to speak our mother tongues less and less. Finnish will become her main language. If you are yourself a bilingual or trilingual, the language of the school, the language of your peers and friends becomes the main language, because no way parents can provide such a big exposure to such a variety of topics as school does. If you are an immigrant parent and you think you should teach your child the language of the environment, please don't. It's not necessary unless you want to, but focus on your mother tongue, because the environment and the school will take care of the local language by themselves. That leads me to talk about the OPOL method, OPOL, one parent, one language. This is what we follow since day one, that we use one parent, one language method, though we are not 100% strict, because I also speak my daughter's father's language and we speak it together. I cannot pretend that I don't know the language. But now when my daughter is almost 2.5 years old, she has learned automatically that the Latvian is the language she addresses me in, and Polish is the language she addresses her father in. She is not talking Polish or Finnish to me, even though she knows I speak both. It was not that obvious half a year ago when she started a daycare. This is very interesting to observe how things change with time. She started to bring Finnish home, and she used many Finnish words instead of Latvian or Polish. I thought, since it's my first experience with a multilingual child, I thought this is it. Finnish has taken over. We are not gonna speak our mother tongue anymore. Turned out it was a phase. She doesn't use Finnish anymore with us. What this one parent, one language method means? It means that you speak to your child as much as possible in your mother tongue. You read books in your mother tongue. If your child addresses you in another language, you answer or rephrase it in your mother tongue. If you get a question in another language, you answer to the question even without correcting the question. You just simply answer in your mother tongue. Everything you pronounce to your child has to be in your mother tongue. You don't have to be very orthodox and strict about it. If there is a situation when you have to use another language, it's okay. If there is another person involved in the conversation that doesn't speak your mother tongue, please use another language. That's totally fine. We don't put too much pressure on ourselves at home. Sometimes I have to speak Polish to my daughter in order to include her father in our common conversation, even though first the conversation was just between me and my daughter. She still continues speaking Latvian to me. This is amazing how it has developed. I have also noticed that amount of time you spend with your child really matters. I can compare how it is in our home nowadays, where my daughter's father is working very long hours and he has literally few hours a day to spend with our daughter. Her Polish is much weaker than her Latvian because I am spending so much more time with her, even though she goes to daycare. Let's talk about another method that is extremely important in teaching your child your mother tongue when you live abroad. And these are books, reading books. I am avid advocate of book reading for your children. This is the best thing you can do for your child, especially in their language development. I started to read or show books to my daughter when she was a baby. I would hold a book over her, pointing on pictures, naming whatever is seen there, that this is a flower, this is the color, and so on. Why I consider book reading so important. Imagine that on daily basis you have very limited amounts of topic you can spontaneously talk about with your toddler. First of all, before they turn 2, they don't really engage in conversations. You cannot build a dialogue with them. The only thing you can do, you can give the input, you can provide them with the topics, you can offer them vocabulary they can take from you. Books allow you to reach for wider vocabulary, for vocabulary you don't use on daily basis. Reading books allow you to expose your child to language, to additional topics, to something fun that you can discuss or you can point on. Since I've been reading books for my daughter since the day 1, now when she's almost 2.5 years old, I see the results. First of all, she learned to love the books. She demands, not even asks, she demands that we would read to her. She quotes sentences and little poems from the books. She doesn't know the meaning of those sentences or most of the words. She doesn't often pronounce them well, but this is how children learn to get familiar with vocabulary, and with time they will learn the meaning. Another thing I can add, what is helping and what is necessary for your child to learn the language, is listening to music. I'm pretty sure most of children are enjoying music when they're very small. Learning the language through music is a very powerful tool. I have noticed it also in adults, that when you enjoy the song, it is so much easier to pick the vocabulary, especially when you put an effort to find the meaning of the words. And my final tip, what can be done to enforce language learning in your toddler, is visiting your home country. This is the strongest language learning method that reinforces everything that I mentioned before. Speaking only your mother tongue to your child, reading a lot of books, listening to music, and then reinforcing it all with visiting your home country, where a child would get immersed into a local environment and be exposed to everything around expressed in your mother tongue. When my daughter turned 2, she was already speaking 2-3 word sentences more fluently in Latvian and Finnish than in Polish. And then we visited Poland and Latvia this summer, and I've immediately seen what incredible impact it had on her language development. There, she had grandparents, she would listen only to Polish music, she would hear people speaking only Polish around and to her. And in order to be understood, she also had to address her family in Polish, and she did it very naturally. She would still address me in Latvian, and I would still speak Latvian to her while being in Poland. But that's what bilingual children naturally do, that they have a language attached to a parent and they don't change it. Everything I said is about small children. I don't have personal experience with children the school age or teenagers, but I have come across a very interesting article on Medium. I'm going to share a link with you about bilingual family in Japan, where the mother would notice that her children are very unwilling to speak English when they grew up, and visiting home country was exactly the thing that reconnected them with their roots, with their English roots while growing up in Japan. Visiting your home country lets your children, no matter what age they are, to create their own experiences beyond just this one parent speaking the mother tongue to them. That's why decision to teach your child your mother tongue often means also a financial investment, because if you want your child's language to thrive and to become as strong as it is possible, you have to visit your home country sometimes. It's not always possible. Unfortunately, you might live too far, the flights might be too expensive, or your home country is in war zone and you're just not able to go there. And this is a very tragic situation. If it's possible, create a local community for your child to listen to your mother tongue also from other people. I have to admit that I am very proud of myself for everything I have done by now in order to teach my mother tongue to my daughter, because the results are astonishing. Teaching your child your mother tongue as immigrant parent is a challenging process. It needs a lot of devotion because you need to take care of exposure to the language. You need to speak as much as possible. You need to read as much as possible. You need to provide with activities in that language, and you need to organize meeting other language speakers for kind of fuller picture and language learning possibilities. Please share your thoughts in the comments. Write about your experience if you are a parent of multilingual children, and also write about your multilingual family situation if you are only considering to choose languages for your future children. I will be happy to get to know you. See you next time.